But Shedeur Sanders did not take a single rep today in 14 periods, and also the hungry dog. Now, I stopped Shedeur on the way off to the field, and all he said to me was, "I'm good."
Stop telling me Shedeur Sanders is a fifth-round talent. Stick with the terrible interview thing while he makes y'all look dumb. How you doing? This video is going to be me reacting to a few different reports from the last few days just about the quote-unquote quarterback battle and maybe the fake quarterback battle and really what the Browns media is doing. But obviously, as we all know, there was a little bit of arm soreness development. So I'm going to put this at the beginning of this video and speak together about what the Browns media is doing. We've been talking about it, but it's a concerted effort. When the national news talks about it, when the Browns media talks about this quarterback battle, it's a clear, stark difference. And starting with this arm soreness thing, because they're trying to blame Shedeur Sanders for it when all the communication has been the team pulled him out. But now they're saying it's Shedeur's fault. So let's hear Tony Grossi, and then we're going to see Mary Kay Cabot's comments. But we're going to go over the history of Shedeur because, as y'all know, he's played through a fractured back before. So I don't know how truthful this is, but Mr. Tony, what are you saying?
Hi, everybody. Tony Grossi with you again with the Cleveland Browns Training Camp Report. We are presented by Maloney and Navani. Well, everyone talked about having too many quarterbacks, right? 4 quarterbacks in a competition. Interesting day. Only 2 of them participated. Now, Kenny Pickett did participate in individual drills, and at the end of the day, in that so-called hungry dog period, he threw to receivers. But Shedeur Sanders did not take a single rep today in 14 periods, and also the hungry dog period, an opportunity period for little-used players at the end of the day. Now, I stopped Shedeur on the way off to the field, and all he said to me was, "I'm good." Later, the Browns came out and said he was held out because of arm soreness. Which is a little curious because the fact is Shedeur's got the fewest reps of any of the 4 quarterbacks over the whole course of the summer training camp.
And I want to stop right there because here we have the proof here. Shedeur Sanders with 70 reps. Now, he's a little wrong. I think he has the least amount of first-team reps, but this is the overall training camp record. Flacco with 92, Dylan Gabriel with 113, 62 for 113, almost 20 more opportunities than Joe Flacco, right? Almost 20 more. I'm just comparing him to the other number 1, right? Almost 20 more opportunities than Joe Flacco. A little bit less than, with 8 more receptions and 1 more touchdown though, and 2 more interceptions as well. We're not here to harp and snark on it, but this is what the numbers look like, right? And I want you to comment down below right now with these numbers, who would you cut from this list? I'm just being honest. We know Pickett's been dealing with injuries, but I mean, 23 for 34, he's seemingly been taking care of business. The 1 interception, obviously the 3 touchdowns, he's been quite productive. But hey, and Sanders been running with the 2s, he's been running with 3s, yada yada yada, right? But hey, you let me know. You let me know who needs to get up out of here from here. But let's hop back in with Tony Grossi. We're gonna finish it. Interesting to say, Shedeur Sanders says he's good. Again, Shedeur is saying he's going to listen to a little more of this when he stops talking about Sanders.
So this is something interesting, totally unexpected, but we'll see if there are any further developments as the week proceeds. The numbers for today it was just Joe Flacco and.
Okay, so yeah, so he's done talking about it. So I want to go over a few things, right? One, this is what Mary Kay had to say. So a league source told Mary Kay Cabot that Shedeur Sanders reported soreness in his throwing arm during individual drills at Saturday's practice. As we showed you, he throwed. The team then reportedly shut him down. The team shut him down. I want to, because Mary Kay is going to try to paint it as, oh, it's Shedeur's fault. It's Shedeur's fault. He says, hey, my arm's a little sore. He says, I'm good. I'm sure he said that. And the team says, oh, great excuse for you to not play. You know how I know that? Because here's the crazy part. Shedeur's not the only person who is saying that he can actually go. Wait 1 second. So I'm just saying, before we try to make Shedeur this thing, because we're going to read it. But this is the same. Look, this is what Kenny Pickett has to say.
I would be out there trying to push through it. More like staying in the pocket and stuff. I try to plead my case, but everyone has a job to do. They're looking out for me, and I appreciate that. But you're also fighting the battle to get out there, so it's tough.
So I just want to make sure, Mary Kay, did Kenny Pickett, who at this point has only received from the count 34 reps and has the interception, right? Is it his fault? Because this is what Mary Kay has to say. The fact that he self-reported the soreness is significant because he's still involved in the four-way competition for the starting job and wouldn't miss a snap unless he absolutely had to. One comment I disagree with is Shedeur being involved in the competition for the starting job. He is not. He's the only quarterback to not take any reps with the first-team offense. But overall, Cabot does have a strong point. There aren't many practices left before preseason games, and Shedeur is getting the fewest amount of reps to begin with. Every practice rep is crucial. So is she right? Is every practice rep crucial? Absolutely. But y'all trying to spin this narrative, right? Because this is what's happening. This is gonna start coming out. It's gonna be, hey, and just I got a little TikTok back here. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have you ain't gotta pay attention, but Shedeur is gonna be in the background. I don't make a big deal of this because there he is. He's laughing, he's chilling, his shoulders out, he's feeling nice, man. Apparently, but again, he reported. I do want people to understand. He just reported shoulder soreness, right? He didn't say I can't throw. Nowhere in that did it say, hey, my shoulder is this, but hey, just shoulder soreness. I'm sure he just went because, hey, you feeling a little, whatever. He said that, and then the trainers just shut him down. That's what happened. So I just want to make sure we do that before y'all start trying to twist the narrative and try to make it a Shedeur thing, because man, I'm gonna let y'all go because y'all got another part of this video to watch. But I want to point out that in 2023, Colorado football quarterback Shedeur Sanders told Associated Press how his injury recovery for his fractured back went. And he certainly didn't make it sound like a walk in the park, getting back to a level of health he can play at. It took a long time for me to get 100% said. The 100% Sanders said, the weight room program that I'm doing right now slowly built me up to where I can just go out there and be very confident doing anything, make any throw, make any run. I just feel great now. As Shedeur said, leaving for the NFL just wouldn't have felt right after the Buffs became the most talked about team going 3-1 start, losing 8 of the next 9 and becoming the butt of jokes across the media spectrum. I couldn't leave on that note, Sanders professed before saying it didn't feel right. The New York's Post Christian Arnold put it, there were certainly some thoughts for Shedeur to leave for the NFL. There were certainly some thoughts for the Shedeur to enter this year's draft and capitalize off the notoriety, but he had during the 2023 season, and experts predicted that he could be the third best quarterback in the draft. By the way, this is 2024. This is before 2024 season. If y'all want to, y'all can lie and say, well, anyway, not the point. But yeah, he dealt with a fractured back and played through it. You have Kenny Pickett clearly saying that, hey, I'm trying to be out there. And then you have someone with shoulder soreness that they're going to try to paint on Shedeur. Y'all pay attention. Mary Kay Cabot's already doing it. Well, he shouldn't have even said anything. Nasty stuff. But hey, rest of the video for y'all. We'll see you next. In the wild world of Cleveland media, there's been a lot to say, and everyone wants to make Shedeur like this big villain. He's the problem. He's the issue, when the only people seemingly making problems are the Cleveland media. So today we're going to go through a few of the updates since, the last quarterback tracker has Dylan Gabriel with an interception going 3 for 14, and Shedeur Sanders has yet to throw an interception during training camp and is throwing multiple touchdowns. Now, Joe Flacco is heating up. Y'all better watch out for January Joe. But what has the tune changed around? So we're going to listen to first the tight ends because, of course, Cleveland media has to find a way to shoehorn the quarterback competition onto other positions to force them to talk about it.
Competition, help them come along, get the most out of them as they're looking for that week 1 starter. What can your unit do?
We do our job. That is it. We cannot worry about who's throwing the ball. We worry about our route, our assignment, and getting our job done. That is it. If we're worried about who's throwing us the ball or who's up for this period or who's up for this play, that's losing football. It shouldn't matter who's throwing you the ball, right? We're out there to do our job no matter who's out there. And I think that's the most important thing we can do, right? Because also, if I go out there, I run the wrong route, quarterback's looking to throw me the ball, right? That's a wasted rep for him. So you can't take food out of other people's mouths to feed yourself. You got to worry about what you're doing, and that's it.
Worry about what you're doing, and that's it. Again, for as much as the media continues to say that Shedeur is the problem, they continue to set up, his teammates, his coaches, his everyone else to be in a position that's just not the best for him. That seems like you want these crazy questions to be answered with crazy answers, right? And then now, if we go to something even more recent, 92.3, this is 92.3 The Fan. This is how they're feeling. This is what they're feeling about Shedeur.
I love how he's handling stuff. Notice today we were all out here. He's out here an hour early before stuff.
An hour early,
and that's working out type stuff. and people, and then he's one of the last guys here signing autographs, being nice and that. Dylan Gabriel's picking up the system. I mean, it's fun to watch. I would caution fans, and this started something, a little bit of a rub in my Baker Mayfield relationship, because I love Baker as a quarterback, but early in his career, I thought the team was going to struggle, so I thought Tyrod Taylor should have been the quarterback. Sacrifice us old veteran guys. Don't dissipate the belief and confidence of a young quarterback. We kill more quarterbacks by putting them in there early and stuff. So to have the veterans play early, especially in September, I think would be very productive for the long-term careers of the team and the young quarterbacks.
So
I love
that's interesting. And I think it's interesting that it comes out right now, right? Because now, wow, this is crazy. We're getting reports. Everybody is reporting that Dylan Gabriel is the aggregate accounts are reporting Dylan Gabriel is struggling. That's how bad it is, man. Hey, man, I think it's interesting that everybody's is so positive now that Dylan Gabriel is struggling. It's even being reported by the aggregate accounts. But let's go. How about mainstream media, right? We're gonna come back to ESPN Cleveland. There's probably some of the best in the business. What does Stephen A. Smith, Theo, First Take, Molly, what do they have to say about the whole situation?
He's saying that's not happening because he didn't think Shedeur would be available, or is he saying that's not happening because we didn't want to take him?
He's not saying that because he didn't think Shedeur was going to be available. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that because in my opinion. They're saying that because he's sitting there saying, look, they didn't really have him ranked that high. They didn't think they were going to draft. I don't know who ultimately pulls the trigger on this. Here's the bigger issue. I don't even really care why he said what he said. This is what it tells me, though. What it tells me is that this young man is ice skating uphill. That's what it tells me, because they are not in lockstep as far as how they view him within that organization. Why else would you come out and say, as I was driving home on Friday night, if you would have told me we were going to draft Shedeur Sanders on Saturday, I would have said, that ain't happening. What that means is there's enough people at the top of the totem pole who are like, nah, he's not for us. Simple as that. And then he went on to say, we had the right people in the room. We had a meeting about it Saturday, and we had the right people in the room, and ultimately Andrew picked to play it. I mean, what the hell?
Why are you saying that right now? He's on the team.
Exactly. So if you're Shedeur Sanders and you're sitting wherever you're sitting in the dorm rooms in Berea, like that I slept in when I played for the Browns too during training camp, and you're watching or you're watching the news and you're seeing the owners sit there and go, no, well, as of Friday night, they weren't even thinking about me. And then they had a meeting and the right people were in there and they wound up drafting me. I'm sitting here going, man, am I really at the right place here? Do I have people that are all rooting for me, that want to make this competition here really fair and equitable? They want to make it an organic competition? Or are there ultimately going to be some people who are saying, I didn't want this guy, and so they're not going to support me in those personnel meetings that I was a part of for 8-9 years. And I know how people can get personal with those things in those meetings. This was not a real good interview in my estimation, because it doesn't help the player at all. And quite honestly, it doesn't help the opinions that we have about how Cleveland goes about doing business. It doesn't at all to me.
Louis Riddick, first off, I like to be transparent, has been quite biased towards, and me too, has been quite biased towards Shedeur Sanders and the Sanders as a whole, and I think rightfully so, the way that he kind of approaches it, at least from his viewpoint, right? So I do want to put that out there, but I don't think that invalidates anything that he has to say, because what he's saying, because I'm going to argue against some of it. Just let me put that out. So if I could start this off by saying that I don't understand why so many people, or I didn't understand why so many people, when Jimmy Haslam said what he said, a lot of people took it as, well, we didn't even want him, right? And I was like, I don't know why people are saying that. I thought what he was saying was, hey, Andrew Berry, the GM, is making that decision. He makes that decision. But when you add the whole, hey, I never thought it was going to be a possibility, okay, cool. But maybe I'm just, being a little more, I'm giving them a little more, credit, because I don't think that that's what they're showing. Now, what I have to completely 100% agree with what that says. Now, do I think that it's awful and terrible and that means that he hates it? No, I don't think that means that they hate Shedeur. But it does 100% mean they don't care about Shedeur. They weren't prioritizing Shedeur. They didn't think, again, that would even be an opportunity. So in my head, I would have to think that there was no plan in action to have this many quarterbacks on staff after doing that, right? So I do want to throw a little bail their way to be like, hey, I think when you just had another quarterback and you just signed 2 quarterbacks and you have another quarterback who has we keep forgetting about Deshaun Watson. I don't know how we keep forgetting about him, but we have another quarterback who could potentially return later in the season, XYZ, that is tied up with a lot of money. I can see why he thought that it wasn't going to happen. But in that same breath, to think and not understand as a owner how a young quarterback is going to look at that and take that, I think that's a little naive too on his part, on Jimmy Haslam's part. You have to understand what you're doing instead of coming out like head coaches typically do. Like for as much as we come out here and get mad at Kevin Stefanski for not answering these questions, what he does at least do is give support to his players. Hey, we're not going down. We're not going to go here. We're not going to go there. Everybody's working their hardest, blah, blah, blah. He deflects it. He smooths it out, whatever. But as with Jimmy Haslam, it seems like he's just trying to absolve any blame. It just wasn't me. You know, that's what they do. That's how they handle it, XYZ. So I do think there would be a better way to at least show a man, right? Because shout out to Tommy Rees, because Tommy Rees has been nothing but positive, right? Kevin Stefanski has been decently positive for Shedeur Sanders. Like, these have been coaches that it feels like he has support from. But other than that, it doesn't feel like he has a lot of support. So I will say that from the owner's perspective, you're not Jerry Jones trying to strong arm Micah Parsons. Can we give Shedeur a little bit of a bone? Hey, by the way, great kid, great player, great man, right? Hey, by the way, why don't you being an owner, how about we shine some light on maybe some of the negative, nasty things that are being said? This is the second time Jimmy Haslam has talked. He's been asked about Shedeur Sanders multiple times. He has yet to come out and say, hey, oh yeah, by the way, all 31 owners or whoever owners, y'all were wrong. Shedeur Sanders is a fabulous young man, an upstanding citizen. He's been out here in the Cleveland media. He's been out here an hour early, as Bernie Kosar just attested to. So when I look at all of that, yeah, I see how it's a problem. I see how somebody who has been shitting on since before the draft, as soon as his jersey got retired, oh my God, everybody started coming out the woodwork. Like Shedeur Sanders was the one who paid to get his jersey retired. Get to the draft, they making fun of him for having a draft room. Then they make fun of him for not being drafted. Then they make fun of him for going to the Browns. And as he's on the Browns, literally until this week, this is the first week that people have been outspoken again about Shedeur, because there's been so many excuses. We got to see him against the Pads. He's a 5th-round talent. He's got to go against the ones. It's got to be real football. All these things. He's checked every single box. And Dylan Gabriel is sitting here with a 3 and 14-day interceptions and looking like he's a confused, short person. No, I'm sorry with the short jokes. He is a tiny person. He looks very small. Shedeur looks calm, cool, collected. Shedeur is building rapport with the team. Shedeur is making jokes with Myles Garrett. So it's a real sick, twisted thing where the man who could have thrown a bone to Shedeur doesn't do it. Again, I don't feel as harshly about the whole, hey, we don't want him. I really, it's just, it is what it is. I think he just meant to say, hey, Andrew Berry made that decision. But the fact that he didn't, he's taking these times and didn't, hey, oh yeah, and by the way, great kid. Oh yeah, by the way, all that crazy oh yeah, hey, by the way, we thought this, but now that he's in the building, I have nothing but love, support, everything for this young man as he goes through adversity. But it's not there. So I have to agree to that regard. I'm going to end this by saying, don't pee on me and tell me it's raining. Stop telling me Shedeur Sanders is a 5th-round talent. Just stick with the terrible interview thing while he makes y'all look dumb and have positive interview. Or just stick with he was always untalented. And he was never deserving of the first and second round grades that he got. Shedeur Sanders didn't get them. Deion Sanders didn't make them. The media members, the people who watch football, ex-NFL players that I think know something about football have said the same thing. One of the most accurate, one of the most proficient, one of the greatest leaders. Ask his teammates about him. Ask every single person that has and puts their name on it about Shedeur Sanders. You keep coming back with positivity. Now the quarterback tracker, which don't lie, is starting to tell the truth. But you let me know down below in the comments how you feel, Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. How long can Dillon Gabriel survive? How long can Shedeur Sanders survive? Let me know. Continue to be great. See you next time. Peace.